Anyway, it is a lovely autumn day. Sun is shining. The rains have slowed down now. We don't get much rain anymore, which is good and bad. We need the rain, but we're here. It has been a very interesting month. You know, there's a Chinese blessing that says, "May you have an interesting life." It's not a good thing. When the Chinese say that, it's actually a curse because, well, uh, interesting is not always good. But we see God blessing through all of this. Um, my Jeep, my lovely 27-year-old Jeep Wrangler, began to make an odd noise about 6 or 7 weeks ago, and we found out that the clutch literally just fell apart. Well, it's a Jeep, which means you can't get the spares for the Jeep here. There is a company that deals in Jeep parts. We contacted them and they said we don't have anything for a Jeep Wrangler from 1999. So we were kind of stuck. Well, my son-in-law, bless his heart, went to the local auto parts store in Midland, Texas, and found the Jeep clutch kit that I needed. Okay, well, it's in Midland, Texas, and I'm in the middle of Zambia. So he went to uh, Federal, no, but it was DHL or UPS or one of those shipping companies, and he put it in the post for us. So we got it. It arrived on Friday and on Thursday of last week. So it was delivered. I went to pick it up on Saturday and I drove it for the first time in 6 weeks. So yay, my Jeep is working and I'm very excited about that. We celebrate the little victories and because little victories become big victories. Now I realize that you can go to almost any auto parts store in America and get Jeep spare parts for almost any Jeep. We don't have that option. When we did ask around in South Africa, I could find a used clutch for about $500, which was like, no, used clutches are used clutches. But my son-in-law, bless his heart, not only got the part for us, but he talked UPS to get sending it half price. The good news is it was on the way. It went from Midland, Texas to Kentucky, and it was stuck there because of snow. Plane couldn't fly. So ultimately, it went from there to Germany and got stuck because of, well, snow. And it was there for about 5 or 6 days. And then it went from there to Dubai. And we all know what's going on in and around Dubai. So it sat there for a week. So what should have taken 4 or 5 days to get here ended up taking nearly 4 weeks. But it did arrive. The mechanic fixed it, got it working. And he said to me on Saturday, "This is a very strong vehicle. When you want to sell it, let me know." And I said, "Sell it? It's only got 195,000 kilometers on it. It's got another 200,000 to go." But he really likes the Jeep. And I said, "Me too. That's why I drive it." So that's the blessing. Again, interesting life, yes. Blessing, absolutely. So we have other blessings that God has brought our way, and it's wonderful. One miraculous thing for us is we've been invited, Sherry and I have been invited to teach English. You're going to love this, to teach English to the Chinese who are now running the local copper mine. Why us? Well, I don't know. I have no clue. They've heard that we do things in the community, and they said, "Would you be interested?" And I said, "Well, sure." We get to create our own curriculum. So we will be teaching people who know a bit of English. So they're not They're not completely illiterate when it comes to English. They know a bit of English, but now they want us to upgrade their English so they can go to business meetings, they can talk to local leaders, local politicians, and they can deal with engineers and so on. Now, I don't, I don't speak any Chinese. I get myself in trouble when I walk into a Chinese restaurant. Our youngest Zambian son speaks Mandarin. Our youngest biological son, Colin, speaks Chinese, speaks Mandarin. I speak none. I can say hello, and then I get myself in trouble. But we get to speak, we get to teach these Chinese mid-level workers and use whatever curriculum we want. Now, these are people who, have never read a Bible. Never. So Sherry and I get to teach them English, which means we get to use whatever literature we want. So yeah, we're going to incorporate the gospel as carefully as we can, because if we begin preaching, we're done. But we can instigate questions. You know how that is. Andrew, our youngest adopted Zambian son, who lives in China, says he cannot initiate a conversation about God, but he can answer questions. Well, these people from the mind, these Chinese people from, and actually two minds, they've come to us. They want us to teach them business English and conversational English, and allow us to create our curriculum. So we've been working on the curriculum now for about a month, and I'll be going and talking to the man who's in charge of this. He's a Zambian, very nice guy. I'll be talking with him this week and say we're ready to start. And so our Saturdays will be for 2 or 3 hours every Saturday. We'll be dealing with Chinese people who, again, have never heard the gospel. They've never read a Bible, and we get to present to them English. And of course, one of the ways to learn English, from my friends who do this in other places, one of the ways to learn conversational English is to give somebody literature. Well, we have a resource center filled with Christian books, many of them from Canada. And so it's going to be exciting to say, we have books for you to read, and we will give them to you because we've got the books that they can have. So it's exciting to see how God works in very unusual ways. And people keep asking me, you see the white hair, okay, the white beard, and people keep making rude comments about my age. Well, I'm almost 72, but I'm not dead. And my kids keep saying rude things like, Dad, when are you going to retire and come home? Well, I tell them I go home every day. This is our house. My office is in the back of the house. Sherry's got a counseling center at the house. We've got our resource center around the corner, and I work in several of the local assemblies. I'm home. My youngest son finally said, Dad, we've talked about it, and we know that you're probably not going to retire and come back to America. And I said, yeah, that's probably about right, because, well, I like where I am. And as long as you like what you're doing, why would you want to retire and stop doing that? Because if we retire and go back to America, a place I haven't lived for 41 years, then I better make new friends, a new church family, and new neighbors, because here I've got what I'm doing, and we enjoy doing it. So pray for us as we as we teach our Chinese students. Many of them are not young. They're in their late 40s, early 50s. Well, okay, they're young to me. I've got children that age. But as they ask questions, we get to answer the questions. And why do you believe what? Why do you do what? And when we were talking to the mine, we said, well, by the way, we would love to do this. We will not take a salary. And they looked at each other like we had just spoken Greek, another language I don't speak. And they said, what do you mean no salary? I said, we're not taking money for this. We're doing this because we want to be a part of our community, and we're doing it as a part of our ministry. Now, again, ministry is not a word that they incorporate with religion. Ministry for them is a political term because we've got government ministers, we have prime ministers, so they look at this ministry aspect as being political. And I said, no, we don't, it's not political. We're not looking to change any of your politics. We're looking just to be a part of your lives and to increase your ability to communicate with Zambians. Oh, that's what we want. I said, good. Well, we're not taking any money for this. So they're a bit stunned, but we're excited about the fact that God has opened this door. Why do we stay? Because God keeps opening doors. Been in Zambia, been in Africa now 41 years, and every time someone makes a comment about retirement, God opens a new door. So we're excited about what God's going to do with this brand new open door and how we can reach out to the Chinese community and have them see us not as a threat, not as someone who's going to beat them up with the Bible, because that just doesn't work. But the idea of communicating and helping them to communicate and having them carry on a conversation with us, ultimately about the Lord, because that's what we do. All of our conversations with Zambians and with other expatriates, they all tend to lean or travel to our ministry and what we're doing for the Lord here in Zambia. Why are you here? I get that question a lot by people. Why are you here? And I said, well, we came to teach. And that's what we're going to do. Brother Simwanza, one of the elders with whom I work, who is an evangelist, he said to me, Brother Coleman, you're so different from some of the other missionaries. And I said, okay, Brother Simwanza, explain that to me because I don't understand what you're talking about. And he said, well, you don't want to be in charge. And I said, explain yourself. He said, you don't want to be the boss. You don't want to be the Bwana. Bwana means master or Lord in the local African languages. And I said, no, I'm not. I want to be the teacher. In Congo, my name was Mwalimu Tala, which was teacher of light. I said, I'm a teacher. I'm a trainer. I want to train people to lead in their local church, in their local assembly, in their local ministry. And as I train them, then I stand back and get out of the way. Several years ago, I noticed up in New York, the Statue of Liberty was surrounded by scaffolding because they were cleaning her up. The copper had turned all shades of green and nasty, and in some cases rusting. And so they put the scaffolding up. They actually took the top of the Statue of Liberty away, cleaned it up. But then there was this scaffolding around the statue. You couldn't see the Statue of Liberty. Now, having grown up in Los Angeles, I had never actually spent time in New York. But we were flying over and I saw the scaffolding and I said, this is really ugly. It's really ugly. Well, when it was all finished, all the work was done, they took the scaffolding down and there was Lady Liberty, and she was beautiful. So as a tourist, I told Sherry, I want to go to New York as a tourist because I'd never been to New York City. I'd flown through it, flown over it, but never gone there. And of course, she grew up nearby, so she had been there many times. I had not. So we took a day and we did a bus tour in New York, and that included the Statue of Liberty in Ellis Island. As I looked up at the statue, now all the scaffolding gone, it was beautiful to me. But I remembered back when it had the scaffolding around her and remembered how ugly it looked to have all these pipes and all these things everywhere. And I began to think about ministry and ministry in Africa. And in so many cases, missionaries come and they build whatever they're going to build, whatever ministry they have. It can be a school, it can be a hospital, it can be churches, it can be whatever they're going to build, but they don't get their hands off. They leave the scaffolding there. And as long as they're there, they're always adding bits and pieces and always around it. And they never move the scaffolding. So we never see the indigenous church. We see what the missionaries done, and the missionaries got all their work done. And I said, that can't be what God wants. Because when I was studying missions in Bible college, the idea was work yourself out of a job. And I heard that over and over and over. We want to train leaders, get out of the way. But then I realized that in many cases, many of the missionaries with whom I was working were not getting out of the way. They had built this ministry and they weren't going away. So the local leadership never had the ability to actually lead. It was always going back to the missionary and asking permission. Can we do this? Can we do that? Well, over the last 41 years, I have been able to work with local leadership and started over 31 assemblies in Congo and in Zambia. And after I get to the point where I've trained the leader, I say to them, and we have a service at the local church, a local assembly, and I say, I'm stepping down now, and here are your elders. These elders will be the ones to whom you go when you have a problem. Now, I'm always close by. They can always pick up a phone, and the good news is we've got cell phones now in Africa, so everybody is connected to everybody. And I've been asked to come back to various assemblies and say, we've got a question, we have a problem, we have an issue. Can you come and talk? Can you come and help? Can you come and lead? Yes, I can do that. But I always go back as an invited guest. And I say to them, you need to invite me to come back. I want you to send me a note or send me a WhatsApp. Now, if you don't know what WhatsApp is, it's a communication tool that is used all over the world, interestingly enough, except in America. I said, send me a note and I'll come, but you've got to send me the note because I'm not going to just show up and take charge because I'm not in charge. You are, as the elders of this assembly. You are the ones who answer to God for the people in your congregation. I'll come and teach. I'll come and advise. I'll come and help, but I'm not the boss. So Brother Simwanza said, you're so different because you don't want to be in charge. And I said, Brother Simwanza, I am not in charge. I am a teacher. I'm a helper. I'm somebody who wants to make sure that you are able to lead effectively. And that's what we've been doing, again, for 41 years. Well, as we look at what's going on in Africa today, there are a lot of countries in which missionaries are no longer welcome. They don't want missionaries around, especially the American missionary. So they need to be leading on their own. And it's exciting to see this kind of thing happen. And so we've got several assemblies with which I work. And I go and I teach occasionally, or I answer questions for them. One of them is Kangonga. It's the blind center nearby. It's about an hour away from us. And I go to the assembly usually once a month. I've not been able to go for the last several weeks because I didn't have a vehicle. Now the vehicle is back. I'll be able to go again. But I show up and I answer questions, doing much of what I'm doing even today, where I'll spend 45 minutes in a Bible study teaching on some aspect of the Bible, very often with a Jewish flavor, Jewish emphasis. I talk about Passover. I talk about Hanukkah. I talk about Purim. I talk about various Jewish aspects. I talk about the children of Israel in the desert. I talk about the fact that we don't always hear God because of all the noise around us, and yet it's in that still small voice where God speaks to us. So I'll talk about that, and then we have the family Bible hour where I'll be able to preach a gospel message. But I'm never in charge. I'm always invited, and it's exciting to see local leaders take leadership in their congregations. Why? Well, because there will come a time when the missionaries aren't there. Several years ago, Sherry was having a conversation with some of the local leaders. This is before we were married, so we're talking about nearly 30 years ago. And one of the missionaries who had been here for quite a while got sick and he left. They went back to Europe. And the elders came to Sherry and said, "We have a quandrum. We have a problem." And she said, "What is that?" Well, the missionary, and they named him, the missionary was a very good teacher, a very good preacher, and he helped us in many, many ways, but he didn't teach us how to teach. He didn't teach us how to lead. He did all the work, and we were there watching him, but we didn't learn. So my goal, and it's been my goal even before coming to Africa back in 1985, was to come to Africa and teach Africans to reach Africans for the Lord. Because even though I speak Swahili and think in Swahili and can converse fluently, it is not my mother tongue. So when I'm able to work with local leadership and have them take leadership roles, it's exciting to see them grow. One of our young leaders in the English-speaking ministry, English-speaking assembly here in Luancha, has become quite a preacher. And in so doing, he is recognized in his community as the leader. In fact, right now, early this morning, he's also a school teacher. The Ministry of Education sent him to another town, which is what, Sherry, 8 hours? About 8 hours away by road, very bad roads, because he's a leader in his community, because they recognize his leadership skills, not only in the church, but in his work at school. And when I see these young people growing, he's 45, so he's very young to me. When I see these young people growing up and becoming leaders in their community and leaders in their assemblies and leaders in their families, it's exciting to see it happen. So every time this happens, every time I see these young leaders literally take leadership roles in their church, I think back to you, because you have made it possible for us to be here for over 40 years and to share our knowledge, to share our experience, to share our desire to see leaders. So for me and for Sherry, we look at South Branch Bible Fellowship as key in our ministry and our work here. Because without you, we can't do this. Without you, we can't be here. We can't stay here. Without you, we can't teach and preach and share. And it's important that we are able to express our gratitude to you. So I want to thank you for making it possible for us to be here and to stay here and to continue in our ministry. Now, I've talked about the Chinese. I've talked about my GPA. Sherry is continuing with her ladies' Bible study every Tuesday. Tuesday evening for her, Tuesday morning for the ladies in New Jersey and Pennsylvania and so on. So she's continuing to do that. So we've got, and that's exciting to watch it happen. Yesterday she she attended what was it called? The Philadelphia Women's Missionary Conference. Because it was virtual like now. So she got to listen to other ladies who have been in various areas of ministry. So with the magic of Zoom, we can share this. So again, we're excited about what God's doing for us and with us, and we appreciate your part in this. So let me take the next few minutes. If you have any questions, because sometimes I share without knowing what you actually want to know. Do you have any questions? There's a microphone there. Please use the microphone, because if you don't use that, I can't hear you. Questions? Oh, come on, you've got to have at least one or two questions. Otherwise, I'm going to keep on talking.
When was the last time you visited the States? When was the last time you visited the States, Patrick?
When were we in the States last? November? We were with you in July. Yeah, July.
So no snow, just hot weather. That was good.
Yeah, we do warm very well. We don't do cold at all. I did have a chance to go up into New York and was at a youth camp. Sherry stayed with her sister, and I went up to the camp and had a chance to spend some time with young people. So, yeah, July was our last visit to the state, and I say visit because it's just a visit. We go for 4 or 5 weeks and we come home.
I was going to ask you what your activities were with the children or youth when you started answering.
The children at camp.
Well, youth there and in Zambia, the youth and the children there.
Oh, yeah.
What involvement do you have there?
We have a youth center behind the Christian Resource Center. We've got a ping pong table, we've got a pool table, a dart board, we've got board games. I painted a hopscotch on the floor. Now, hopscotch, we think of little kids playing hopscotch, throwing the stones and all that. But our youth ministry deals with young people who are between the ages of, say, 14 and 22. And you see a 22-year-old young man who's never played hopscotch, playing hopscotch and throwing the stones out. So it's great fun to watch them do all this. So, and Foursquare, my wife said Foursquare, which is always a joy when they hit the ball to each other, at each other. So they come and they play for an hour or so, and then there's a Bible study lesson because it's youth. Sherry leads the Bible study. And a lot of the kids will come, even if they're late, they want the Bible study. And even during holidays, because they'll say, well, my wife will say, okay, well, this coming Friday is a holiday. So what do you we want to have the Bible study. So it's right now it's exam time, coming up exam time and school breaks. So it's all kind of on hold right now. But this is the kind of thing that we enjoy doing. And yes, we're old. Someone mentioned my white beard last week, and I said I've earned every one of these white hairs. And I'm not gonna. I have no temptation to dye it. It's there, but we're young at heart, so we enjoy working with young people, and obviously we're looking towards training leaders. One of the young men who was coming to the youth meeting is actually a youth leader in his assembly here in town, and very very intelligent young man. Sorry. Sherry has taken him through discipleship when he was younger, and he's excited about church work. He's excited about the Lord's work. So these are the kinds of young people that we're seeing. Gone are the days when the missionary was the most brilliant person in the community. We have young people who are getting their master's degrees. I mentioned the other elder in Fellowship Chapel, the young man we've been working with, who's 45, who's working on his master's degree. So we have highly educated people here in town, and they are leadership quality. So our young people are getting smarter and smarter, and we sometimes have to keep up with them. So yes, we still work with our young people. Thank you for the question. Somebody else? Ladies, I'll let you speak as well. This is a question and answer time.
What kind of challenges do you have there in the ministry? Challenges with the ministry or because of the ministry?
Well, challenges, obviously, transportation is always a challenge. Electricity, I mentioned the fact that the lights just came on before this meeting started. And we never know when it's going to go off. We did get a warning. They said the lights were going to be off until 3 o'clock this afternoon, and the lights were off until after 4. So that's always a challenge. The roads are horrible in the rainy season. The roads are very bad, and now that the rain has stopped, now we have not so much mud, but we have ruts because the trucks go through. So we have roads that Sherry's small vehicle cannot pass through, and that's why we needed the Jeep Wrangler, because of the bad roads. Another one is crime, which has suddenly started to increase here. Part of it is because people are poor and the economy is horrible. Another factor here is the fact that when we came to Africa, came to Zambia some 40 years ago, in the middle of town, shops were closed on Sunday. Shops were closed. Oh, thank you. Shops were closed on holidays. Now, as we drive through the middle of town, even on Resurrection Sunday, last Sunday, shops are open because people are trying to get one more sale. And money is short. So when you have that kind of a situation, the economy is bad, there is more crime. So we have here at the house, we chatted with Craig Pritchie from CML about increasing our security. So we've got a wall, a very high wall. We have cameras outside the property that set off signals when there's an intruder. But again, we live in the middle of town and people know who we are, so we don't really have that problem. Here, the problem is when we travel abroad, in other cities and other villages and so on, because even though my car is 27 years old, it is a car. So we're always being very careful about locking things and setting alarms and so on, because crime is becoming an issue. Sadly, it wasn't that way 35, 40 years ago. It is that way now. So we're seeing that as an increase. And then, of course, health. Malaria in Luanshya is on the increase. In fact, right before this meeting, I killed a mosquito. I always feel good when I kill a mosquito because that's where the malaria comes from. So every chance I get, I'll swat a mosquito. I don't know why God didn't have Noah swat them on the ark, but because I would have. So our health is an issue. Again, we're not getting any younger, but we've got good health care to the extent that we know where the doctors are and we can buy the medicines that we need, but we're looking at that. Something else? Okay. Another question?
I think that's it. Oh,
Okay.
no, wait a minute, one more. What are the cultural differences?
What are the cultural differences? Well, people here eat things you wouldn't put in your hand, and they like them. Caterpillars. What the favorite part of a chicken to eat? What is the favorite part of a chicken to eat? Now, you might say a drumstick, chicken breast, hot wings, because everyone loves hot wings. One of the most favorite parts of the chicken to eat here are the feet. People eat chicken feet. I do not. Chicken heads, they boil the chicken heads and then they eat. There's no meat on a chicken head, but that's what they eat. You can go into the shop and buy offcuts. They call them offals, and they sell them as a package of offals. It's the parts of the animal that they use to make dog food in America, but hearts, gizzards, lungs, those are the kinds of things. So we don't eat those things, just so you know. We eat the parts of a chicken that you would eat because those are the parts that we like. But there are a lot of other cultural issues as well. Something else?
How about cultural
Here's the boss.
differences with the people?
Yeah,
Yeah. She's kneeling behind the chair.
yeah, trying. Old age. Some of the other differences regarding culture is there are still very many tribal traditions that are practiced, from the birth of a child to marriage preparation and what happens in marriage and family disputes, even to the point of the family will tell the son, go away, we are divorcing you from our daughter, as opposed to there being reconciliation. Death in a family, if a woman's husband dies, then his brother is expected to sleep with her and create a child in the memory of his departed brother. Those sorts of things are carried on, and trying to combat that on a weekly basis is really hard and frustrating. And this even happens among the believers, because even though many will say, I would never do that, I would never put Bwanga charms on my brand new infant to ward away evil spirits. Grandma comes in, puts it on the baby and puts it on you as the new mother. Innately, in the back of the mind, even young believers participate in these things, and they don't know why they're doing it, other than familial pressure. Other things they do just because it's there and they've seen other people do it, even though they know this is contrary to truly trusting in the Lord and his sustaining them through the trials of life. So it's rough at times. I've even had this situation with women who I have worked with for 20 plus years. They will fall back into certain cultural practices because it's that time of life or it's expected, even though they know it's wrong.
Yeah.
So I was thinking more of, thanks for that. Very informative. But in terms of the missionary challenges with the people themselves, dealing with the people themselves as missionaries.
Okay, trying to get, okay, so you're talking cultural, the European, that's what they call us, the European versus the African. Because we've been here so long, we are respected and people will listen to us in regard to the sharing of scripture, though these traditional tribal practices still happen. Some people will have the courage to come to us and say, what should I do? Culturally speaking, clothing wise, everybody wears Western clothes now. When I first came, women were wearing a piece of cloth around their waist and their torso. Now it's Western clothes. And some of it is just astonishing. You'll see a woman walking down the street wearing a negligee. She thinks it's a fancy dress. She doesn't know it's night clothes and there's no secrets. Those are the cultural issues between us and the local population. But there's so much exposure nowadays, and the ability for local people to travel if they have the wherewithal, that you would think some of the people were from America. But shockingly enough, when an African American comes here, the Zambians know this is not an African.
Yeah.
honestly. You might have some semblance of the skin color. Sorry, you're not a Zambian, you're not an African. Even if they try to disguise their voice to sound
Yeah,
like a Zambian.
you talk funny. Good question.
Thank you.
Move the camera.
Okay. Any other questions? Because it's now right at the hour. For us, it's 5 o'clock.
For now, we'll take like a 20-minute break,
Okay,
ready to start again.
absolutely. Great to be with you today.
Nice to see you
I'll see you shortly.
and Sherry. Okay, we'll see you in 20 minutes.
Yep.